It's day 24 of the Advent Calendar, my friends. Yesterday we talked about the character pool, customization, and getting your head in the game. Today we'll talk about XCOM Cannon. So, serious spoiler alert, if you haven't read the novel, I'm going to be covering a lot of what happens in the novel, and some of the things in the novel have not been announced, talked about, or introduced anywhere else as far as I know. So this is much closer to spoiler than anything else I've ever covered. Also, we're just going to have the one big section where we talk about the history of XCOM and what happened canonically. So
the time has come to reclaim our world. Welcome back, Commander.
Incoming transmission.
Day 24, Cannon. What happened? So, XCOM 2012, which I'm just going to refer to as XCOM, and XCOM 2 is the new offering because I'll be referring back to it a lot for reference, had relatively little solid canonical plot. And what little it had was mostly in the last mission, which we can disregard now because you never get there in the official canon, lest XCOM 2 never happened. But, so I'll go ahead and talk about what we learned there. We learned basically that the alien master race, the Ethereals, had been collecting other races and attempting to uplift them such that they could be both physically and psionically gifted. And they kind of collected a kind of horrific band of aliens to work with them, the mutons being physically adept but psionically weak, the sectoids being the opposite, the chrysalids just being crazy-ass bugs. I don't know why they kept those guys. They just liked them, or they were incredibly useful when terrorizing new races. But they identified humans as being awesome, and they love humans. And at the end, they're like, hey, what's going on? Why are you fighting us? And we're like, because you killed so many of us, and humans are vengeful bastards, and it's time to die. And we take down the uber ethereal lord. Now, there's very little knowledge of what the Ethereals are up to, why they needed to uplift people. There is some kind of suggestion that there are bad things happening out there. We're not sure if it's personally bad for the Ethereal we encountered, who was kind of leading everything. Now remember, this is like an alien fleet. This was not like a ragtag band. There are battleships, like a wealth of scout ships. Like, they can terrorize a whole planet in a ground war, which is crazy insane. So this is no small thing. Now, whether there's more Ethereals out there, like some sort of community or society, or if they had to pack up and run from something, who knows? But it was definitely, it was definitely kind of sparse on the plot. And now we're not sure if any of that is technically canon. We do know that the XCOM project sprung up to combat the alien menace, and that initially the war was kind of on the DL, maybe a bit secretive, but very quickly in the early stages of XCOM, you find the aliens terrorize cities and things go into all-out war. So, what actually happened in canon XCOM? Well, XCOM begins when you, the commander, arrive at XCOM headquarters, and it's time to get things started. You're introduced to Central Officer John Bradford, your tactical and strategic liaison, your head scientist, Dr. Valen, and your head engineer, Dr. Shin. These three characters are central to your playthrough and provide you with all sorts of important information. The strategic outcomes of XCOM are that you initiate first contact, where you discover that aliens have psychic powers, and you successfully kill all the aliens at what might have been a failed abduction, and you get to drag their bodies back for Valen to inspect. Abductions, you begin a campaign of counter abduction where you fight off the one where the aliens seem to abduct from multiple places around the world, and you pick one to fight off as best you can to maintain the support of your parent countries, who are providing all sorts of resources, money, cash, equipment, expertise, soldiers, to you. But of course, there's crumbling factions within these countries that want them to simply give in to the overwhelming power of the aliens, which is a real thing. You put up a satellite network. A couple satellites go up, allowing you to detect aliens, alien scout ships that you eventually down one of. The pilot of the interceptor Voodoo 37 is the first human to bring down a UFO, and then you send out a tactical assault force to capture the spoils of war. The UFO is incredibly intact due to its construction from these powerful, lightweight alien alloys. And when you get there, while the tactical mission is going well, unfortunately, the alien reinforcements are swarming towards the site, and you are unable to capture the whole ship intact and have to get away with just some scraps. The Dr. Shin has to make do with country support over time, over the weeks, the next couple of weeks, begins to crumble, and a few countries leave the XCOM Council to make deals with the aliens themselves. To speed up this process, or perhaps as retaliation for XCOM's activities, the aliens start terrorizing cities, annihilating a couple cities around the world, but really not a lot. It's suggested that only a handful of cities were actually outright destroyed. However, they also begin destroying every bridge and rail system on Earth, basically attempting to logistically cripple the whole planet, which of course isn't that hard for them, considering the incredible resources at their command. Remember, this is like an alien conquest fleet, not just the few aliens you see. There's like a whole fleet out there. And when you're in orbit, it is really easy to destroy things wherever you want. At this point, the Council really starts to give it up, and XCOM actually, with its resources, actually managed to bring down an alien transport ship over the Indian subcontinent. But unfortunately, it seems like the location of XCOM headquarters has been given up, probably by one of the council members. With psionic powers on their side, it was just a matter of time till the aliens discovered the location of an unmovable secret base. And dealing with the down transport was left to the local forces in what is the place called? The Indian state of Kerala, near Muvattupuzha, which is a municipality on the eastern side of the Ernakulam district. Sorry for my pronunciation. Americans are terrible at all things geographic. So, unfortunately, XCOM has bigger problems because there is a massive battleship coming in towards XCOM HQ. XCOM HQ is assaulted. We're not sure what happens to the commander, but Bradford, Shin, and Valen escape. XCOM forces, XCOM's military power is absolutely crushed, and then the base is obliterated from orbit after the aliens have wrecked everyone they can find inside. Fortunately, the information gathered by XCOM was distributed to some secret backup mainframes around the world, but unfortunately no structure or organization existed to take advantage of the few steps forward XCOM had made before everything was reset to zero, or near zero. The council crumbles. Some of them probably turn to Advent, but intend to continue the war. Presumably there are still some people in there who want to see a free humanity, and hopefully they help us out later. So Bradford becomes a broken man, drinking himself to death as he attempts to avoid capture by the aliens. Valen takes refuge on a volcanic island in somewhere near the Antarctic Pacific, trying to science up some advantage and continue studying the aliens. And Shin, Dr. Shin the Elder, at some point in the years after XCOM falls, discovers a diesel-powered submarine, which he dubs the Elpis, which means hope in Greek, or is the personification of hope in Greek, and is attempting to reboot the XCOM project to restart the war, while picking up his young daughter, who must have been about 11 at the time XCOM went down, and bringing her aboard, as well as many guerrilla fighters, experienced troops, and other useful characters as possible. So this is where the book begins, that bridges the gap between XCOM and XCOM 2. The book is called XCOM Resurrection by Greg Keyes, and I quite enjoyed it. It's really a better book if you know nothing about XCOM 2, because otherwise all of its big reveals are kind of spoiled, or most of them. But the characterization was actually good enough that by the end I was very pleased that I'd read it. And even if you know everything I'm about to tell you, you could get something out of it. And if you're in the local Philadelphia area, you can borrow my copy. So, we begin with the team of local guerrilla fighters. Our narrative focus is Amar, one of the guerrilla warriors attempting to combat the basically crushing Advent troops. Advent has taken over the world, rebuilt most of the major cities on Earth into what they call new cities, where basically all serious human diseases are no longer a problem, but gene therapy clinics are creepily prevalent, and everyone is chipped with some sort of identification chip, possibly other things that it does. It's all very totalitarian, but just propaganda, and there are plenty of good things about it. These guerrilla fighters don't buy it. They're not organized in any particular way. They are run by his squad leader is an ex-XCOM soldier, and named Holly Thomas, who was apparently one of the commander's favorites. So they run across a group of Shin's troopers after a brutal firefight where only one person survived. They recover Sam, this crew member who wasn't really a soldier, as well as it turns out that the location where they ambushed the squad that had ambushed Shin's troops was actually one of the backup mainframes containing critical information from the original XCOM project. The squad agrees to transport Sam back to the Elpis, and they pick up an Advent city girl named Lena along the way, who is initially quite skeptical of the guerrilla resistance in general. Of course, everyone's keeping most of this stuff tight-lipped, but I'm telling you how it happens. So they discover the Elpis. They de-chip Lena, or she is de-chipped. I think she's actually being, she's been de-chipped by the locals, and the Advent pop up. And anyway, she has been unchipped, which is just a standard process for the guerrillas because, of course, the chip allows you to be located anywhere on Earth. So they make it back to the submarine, and the information they bring to Dr. Shin encourages him to go to the India subcontinent. But he has to make a stop at Valin's island first to get some data analyzed and to share resources before they embark on what Shin hopes the endeavor that will reboot the XCOM project. Unfortunately, our city girl, Lena, is rigged with a new, more secretive, harder to detect bio beacon that brings Advents and aliens crashing down from all sides, forcing Valin to basically trigger a volcanic eruption and the Elpis to flee, while our intrepid squad is left on the island, torn up, battered, some losses, and unable to join with any more significant organization. They do find a smaller vessel and hightail it to where they hope the Elpis has been. Fortunately, they do come across the Elpis, and before they can get too much rest or really reach they arrive at the Indian subcontinent, and they attempt to contact the local resistance, where they agree to get some help in adventuring into the jungles where they believe this down transport is. Shin Jr., Lily Shin, gets captured for tampering with one of the Advent scanners, and they have to rescue her. Of course, it results in pain on all sides, especially for the local resistance, but the local resistance continues to assist them, partly because they're impressed that there's such a actual backing to Dr. Shin's group, and it's implied that the council in some manner actually exists and is actually helping out from within Advent. And an expedition is sent out into the jungle where they do discover the down transport mostly intact, and Dr. Shin dubs it the Avenger. So, after examining the transport for a while, which the aliens seem to be ignoring, and which was surrounded by the corpses of local Indian security forces from 20 years ago and dead aliens, they discovered that they definitely need Illyrium, but also that something important is missing from the whole project itself. And that something is a Skyranger prototype that had been developed in France and was simply sitting in an abandoned military base, which the squad and Shin Jr. are sent out to recover. On their way there, they encounter, and now this has been mentioned in the book for a little while, but I was kind of saving it up. There are forbidden zones, and this particular military outpost is located inside of a forbidden zone. These are areas on the Earth where the aliens forbid anyone from going, and we see in the book that the Advent will actually bring flamethrowers into these zones and just go hog wild for some reason. So they're overgrown, and for some reason, even the aliens really want to keep them contained somehow. And there's some sort of contagion that seems to even worry the aliens. So when adventuring to this Skyranger prototype, they see the creepy crystalline growth on both plants and local wildlife. Some strange animal behavior leads them to shoot a diseased boar, I believe, which is just kind of watching them from the edge of the forest, and explodes into crystal dust. Now, what the significance of this is obviously up to XCOM 2 to discover. But they get a little frisky about keeping aliens away while Lily works on the new Skyranger prototype. The old Skyranger was shot down, unfortunately, during the base defense of XCOM headquarters. And we learned that burning the contagion creature seems to be mostly effective and doesn't result in what forbidden sparkles being spread everywhere. There's a brief firefight with the Advent, but fortunately the new Skyranger was complete enough to allow an easy evacuation. And the last piece of the puzzle, some Illyrium that needs to be captured from the Advent, requires Lena and Amar to infiltrate a new city and acquire jobs, and they're treated kind of like refugees by the Advent, and it's primarily humans running the Advent like public face, and they're given nice quarters and jobs, and Lena gets a job working somewhere where she can acquire some Illyrium. There's some close calls, but primarily everything's success. Lena learns that has cancer, which it's vaguely hinted at may be due to the gene therapy clinics. Maybe not. It might have been something she already had. There's no real way to know. But unfortunately, her days are numbered. And once returning the Illyrium to the Avenger, parts of the ship that had been previously locked down were able to be accessed, and the AI comes online. Now, Dr. Shin the Elder had identified the AI as kind of a slumbering unconsciousness, but he definitely hints that it's far more like an intelligence than any human computers have ever achieved. Unfortunately, when the AI awakens, thanks to the Illyrium, it tries to destroy all humans and unleashes from stasis a number of sectoids and the other parts of the ship, these killer mechanical drones. Now, these are the old sectoids, but that does not make them harmless, as anyone who played XCOM would know. So during the intense firefight, unfortunately, sectoids sneak up onto the bridge, mind control numerous soldiers, kill a lot of people, and psychically brutalize Dr. Shin the Elder, attempting to gather all the information he knows and probably just wreck him. Fortunately, Lena and Amar work their way up to the primary power conduit and destroy it, so shutting down the AI. Unfortunately, Lena is cut down by sectoids while protecting Amar, who simply passes out from blood loss due to being shot by some of the mind-controlled soldiers on the bridge. When he wakes up, the Avenger is cleared of aliens. Dr. Shin is basically a husk of a man and dies a couple days later. And Lily Shin takes over the restoration of the Avenger. And this is about where XCOM 2 comes in. Now, the story of how the commander is recaptured, I believe that's covered early in XCOM 2, maybe like the first cutscene. In the trailers, of course, it's alluded that you are the greatest weapon that the for the XCOM project, and we can finally actually get the party started again now that you're back. I've heard you were captured by the aliens and put in stasis. There's a pretty good scene of a muton giving you the rifle butt, giving someone a first-person rifle butt, and a Thin Man smiling as it leans down over you. And perhaps they have plumbed you for tactical genius to further enhance their own warfare capabilities. So that's what I know, and it leaves open a couple questions like, what is this crystally stuff in the Forbidden Zone? What is it the aliens are worried about? Are these the same thing? And is there some other threat? It also leaves open a lot of, awesome undisclosed information about the XCOM 2 plotline. It's funny, they've kind of revealed as much plot and narrative as there was in XCOM, which there was very little. They've revealed at least that much about XCOM 2 already, so I'm actually really excited and hopeful that there is quite a bit more story, or at least plot. It doesn't have to be a narrative. As long as it is like plot twists and unknown circumstances. There's a lot to find out in XCOM 2 because they've really, really kept on the DL the Forbidden Zone and the this crystal infection of the Earth, which is seemingly fairly, is not minor. And if they brought some sort of alien kudzu or Japanese knotweed, some sort of invasive species along with them, or perhaps they're growing Illyrium out there, or something worse, something that followed them that they feared. Who knows? But it is up to us as the commander to find out. Alright friends, that's it for day 24. If you enjoyed this content, please go ahead and like this video. If you'd like to see the next Advent Calendar video as soon as it comes out, please subscribe to my channel. And you're gonna want to see the next video that comes out because it's my 7-part canonical playthrough of XCOM using my modding skills and my own mod, the Art of War mod, which you can find on nexusmods.com, which is a mod on top of the amazing Long War mod by Johnny Lump and Aminary. We will be creating as close to a canonical playthrough as I believe the game engine can manage in the next 7 episodes, and I think you're really going to enjoy it, so join me for that. Until then, farewell.